Good evening. Yeah, it's evening, and that is so exciting. I've not done an evening Facebook Live, and so this is new for me, and I'm so excited to be doing this. And it's not quite 7 o'clock yet, but I did want to get on and make sure that I have the video up and running. You know, sometimes things don't work the way I think they're going to, and I don't quite understand why. All right, so I haven't gotten it up yet on my computer screen. It should be coming up, but it's not. All right, Stampin' Dee Dee's Doings, I've got it here. And for some reason, the video is not coming up. All right, I'm going to shut this down and reopen it. So, I don't know who's on because I'm videoing with my phone and I can't get it to come up on my computer yet. But I do hope that you are looking forward to this as much as I am. This is called Dying to Know. And you know, there are just some things that we are dying to know. I pull out a die set and a stamp set, and I look at it and I go, what are all of these pieces? So I thought, you know, as long as I'm going to try to figure that out for myself, then I might as well do a Facebook Live and we'll figure it out together. Well, I'm still not getting anything. I hope I'm in the right place. That's the only thing that concerns me, is that maybe I'm not in the right place. So I'm going to go right here and see if I ended up. I did. All right. So I ended up putting it on Stampin' Dee Dee's Doings and Designs instead of just my Stampin' Dee Dee's Doings. So what I'm going to do is go back to my to the other page. Let me see if I can get back to it and let you know there that it's on the group page. All right, here I am. I need to get over to my computer now. All right. All right. So this ought to help putting it putting instructions on what to do. All right. So I hope that that will help, and that those of you who are trying to watch on the business page will come over to the group page and be able to see this. So here we are. I am glad to be here with you, and I chose for this face first, Dying to Know, I chose Christmas Barn. So if you're not familiar with Christmas Barn, it's one of our new stamp sets in the mini catalog, and it is a Christmas set, but I'm going to show you that it doesn't have to be used as a Christmas set, not at all. All right, so hang on just a minute, and I'm going to go back over here and drop this in. Hold on. Edit. Okay. I am so sorry. Something always seems to happen. Always. All right. Okay, here we go. All right. So I chose Christmas Barn because I tried and tried to figure out how to use some of the pieces that were in here. And I spent so much time doing it. And I thought, gee, I want to share this with others. And so here we are. Here's the stamp set. I'll put it down and hopefully you can see all of it. These are the dies. This set has 14 dies. So it has 2 different fence dies. This is a fence die. Sort of one that shows relative distance because it will fade off into the distance. And then this is another die, another fence die that's more like a barn fence. All right, and then we've got the barn. We've got the barn that coordinates with the stamp. And we have the silo for the barn, and I'll show you about that. Then this is the die that coordinates with the sled and the horse. So this die coordinates with that. We have a tree die. We have a signpost die. We have, these are, you can use them for snowflakes. Let's see if I can grab a piece of white paper. Here. You can use them for snowflakes. You can use them for flowers. You can use them for stars. So they're versatile. And there's 3 sets of them. So that makes it easy to use for any of those things. Now, this was one of the dies that I could not figure out what in the world to do with. I was like, what is this die? So I decided it could either be a patch of snow or perhaps it could be a pond. So we're going to look at that both ways. And at first, this is really fun. Oh, we have a wreath die that goes with the wreath stamp. And you can hook that on the fence. You can hook it on the barn. These 3 dies, I thought, what in the world is this? What's these 2? And then I finally realized that they are dies that cut out the sentiment. So these just match perfectly with the sentiment so that you can die cut them out. And this one goes with this stamp. So we're going to look at all of these. All of the stamps. I think the stamps are pretty self-explanatory. This one is tracks in the snow or in the dirt where the horses have been. So we'll look at that too. All right. The first thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you a card that uses every single die. Now, this card uses them all. Well, actually, it doesn't because I didn't die cut the barn. I wanted to just stamp the barn. So I just stamped the barn, but all of the other dies, here's the wreath, here's the silo, and with the silo, when you stamp the barn directly on the paper, then you have to do a little slit right here, right along the edge of the roof, and stick the silo down behind it. Now, if if you die cut the barn and pop it up, then of course it's easy to put the silo behind it. But that's how I got the silo behind this one. We've got the trees, the dies. We've got the barn fence here, and sort of the property fences here. I die cut the horse and sled out, and the little sign, and it doesn't have anything on it, so I put to town. You probably can't see that. It says to town. And all right, and then that piece that we didn't know what it was, in this one I used it as a pond. So it's got a little pond over here. I put the fences so that there would be an entrance, or like this is the road, and I used that stamp that is the tracks. I used it behind the sled to show where the sled is going. And then I used these as snowflakes because it's snowing, right? So we needed some snowflakes. So that was all the dies. I used the tree stamp and stamped off so that it looked like there were trees in the distance. And that is pretty much all of them. So I am hoping that those of you who were going to see this, watch this Facebook Live, I hope you found us. Let me know if you did. All right. If not, you can watch the replay. All right, here we go. Now, here's one that is also a winter scene. And it's one of the Z-fold cards. So when you open it up, then you see the barn. And again, I used this as a pond, and I even stamped off the trees just a little bit to look like a reflection. And for the tracks, I put tracks behind the sled, and then I wanted it to look like these were tracks that had been made in the snow, maybe when they left, so that it looks like the sled is coming back to the barn. And then I just used the straight fence all the way across the front of this. With the barn, you need to put it right up against the fold, and then you need to die cut one of the trees and be ready to put it. If any of the barn shows, you can put the tree over the edge of the barn so that it's a surprise when you open it up. Merry Christmas to you and yours. So that's one way to use it. This, let's see. All right, the next three cards are not winter cards. So this one, I didn't even color the barn. I just stamped it in Early Espresso. I used a tree from the Beauty of Friendship just to create a different kind of a tree since I didn't want it to be a winter scene. And then I used some greenery and grass from several of the different sets. Birdhouse, garden birdhouses, and I think Grassy Grove. The birds are from Let's Sail. And then this is the Cloud Punch, and I just used a piece of it and just one of the fences so that it looks like it's going off into the distance, and then a little bit of linen thread. So I wanted this to look like an apple tree. I don't know if it does or not. I don't know if you can see the apples that I drew on there or dotted on there with red. And I'm thinking of you. So hopefully this would be a card that would be a peaceful scene and make somebody feel better. And I'm going to put a little more light on the subject here. Maybe that'll make it a little bit easier to see. All right. So a non-Christmas card. Here's another non-Christmas card. And don't you know that a friend who lives in the country or wants to live in the country or used to live in the country would just love getting a card with a red barn. So on this one, I used my blending brushes. Okay, I'm glad you found, I don't know how I started recording it on the wrong website. So I hope others that wanted to come tonight would be able to find it. All right, so I just used the blending brushes and I blended in some green, I blended in some balmy blue and some brown down the middle and just created a barn scene. Just a barn scene. And this one doesn't have any die cuts at all. It's all stamping. And a happy birthday. All right. Another one that is not Christmas. Not at all. I used the big tree die from Grassy Grove. I just stamped the barn, die cut the fence, and put it behind the Grassy Grove trees and in front of the barn. And just, I colored in a little bit of green so that it would, you know, have that touch of spring or summer. And there again, it's a thank you card. Used some, the 2123 in color jewels, since this is soft succulent. I did pop up the Grassy Grove, the trees. So there's another non-Christmas way to use this barn. All right, so what I thought I'd do, I just die cut some of the pieces. And I thought we'd just play here for just a minute. I used the tree, the stamp, and I stamped off and just gave it a look of the trees being off in the distance. Let's see. I think you can maybe see it this way. Yeah, there you can see it. All right, so we'll put that down on an early espresso background. And we're just gonna play around with this a little bit. So I did die cut the barn. Now, if you wanted it to be a snowy scene, which this does have a snowy look, doesn't it? You could, let's do that. You could just cut off the piece that die cuts. Just cut it off. Just come along and cut it off. It's very easy to cut off. There we go. Now we don't have that piece in front of the barn that doesn't look snowy. I can see that I needed to trim that. Okay. All right, so we have our die cut trees, and you can either pop it up over the top of one of the other trees or beside it. We have our sleigh coming along. So we can do a couple of things. We could put our fence here with our barn behind it, and this is the road out here. If we want it coming into the barn, we could do this. We could move this all the way over, and it doesn't matter because the tree coming out from the bottom of the barn doesn't matter because we can put this tree over it. And then we can put this fence over here and trim it off, and then we can have them coming along and they can go into the barn, and we could put our little tracks into the barn. So I don't know, which do we like better? I think for today, for this one, I'm going to go ahead and put the barn down here as close as I can to the edge of the card. And up some to give them plenty of room to drive in. All right, and then we're going to have to use dimensionals because we're going to have to cover up that tree behind the barn, which that would be easy enough to do. Okay. All right, we'll just put it directly over that other tree. And now it looks like it's growing in front of the barn. This one, we can use dimensionals and have it in addition to this tree because it doesn't need to hide anything. So we can put it right here, right there. And we're going to come along with our fence. Let's see, do we want to put it under the tree? No. If we do that, we'd need to move our tree down. We could do that and move our tree down. Let's do that. So we'll just add a little bit of glue to the back of the fence. Not much. We don't need much. And we're going to cut most of it off. So that ought to be enough. Oh, except, all right, let me do this. Let me just cut it right here. All right, I need a little more glue right here. Now, we'll put this right here by the fence. Get that little bit of glue up. We'll put our tree right here. And then here comes our sled. And we'll put some dimensionals on it. And see, I didn't color any of these pieces. I just stamped them on, I don't know what this is, gray granite, something like that. I'm going to put the sled over here as close to the edge as I can. I'm going to grab that down. I'm going to grab the stamp, the tracks. Let me grab a all right, let's see how this will work. Yeah, so we can have it going right up into the barn. That's going to be perfect. I'll use Early Espresso ink. Ink this up. Okay, let me make sure I got it inked. And I just want it coming right up into the barn door. Like that. There we go. He looks like he's just following the tracks right into the barn, doesn't he? See that? Now, you could make this Christmas if you wanted to. You could add a wreath to the barn. You could color Christmas colors on their clothes. Just lots of ways to do this. And then I have the 3 sentiments. So if we made it into a Christmas, we could put, it's the most wonderful time of the year. We could put that right up there at the top. Or Merry Christmas to you and yours. We could put that right there. Merry Christmas to you and yours. Or, let's see, we would have to pop this one up, but we could put, may joy fill your heart this season. I like that. All right. So there's so many different ways that this set can be used. I really enjoyed sort of dissecting it and figuring out all the different ways that I could use them. So let's look again. I'm not going to finish that. So we had this one, just a barn off in the trees. We had this one, which is a barn in a green field. We have this one, another barn in a very springy field with apples in the tree and flowers. We have this one that is a Z-fold Christmas card. And then we have this one that we used every single stamp or die, stamp and die. The only die I didn't use was the barn die. So that's using them all. All right. So we were dying to know, and we figured it out. I hope you have enjoyed this, and I hope you learned something from it. Next time in October, even though this is supposed to be the first Tuesday of the month, next month it's going to have to be the second Tuesday because we're going to be out of pocket the first Tuesday. So it will be the second Tuesday of October, and I will post the date, and I will be doing the video normally on the other website, the Stampin' Dee Dee's Doings. This one is Stampin' Dee Dee's Doings and Designs. I'll be doing it on the other. I just messed up and did this one on the wrong website. So I would like to know, well, let me tell you, next time we're going to do Celebrate with Tags. And we're going to figure out how to use all of these dies, because these have some unusual tag dies. So we're going to figure out how to use those and how to implement all the different ones that are in here, as well as using all the stamps. So, Celebrate with Tags. This is a tag set that can be any season, any celebration, and that's what's nice about it. So, we will be looking at this one next time, and then I'd like to hear what you want to see, what you're dying to know. I'd love to know. I have an idea for November, but I'd really like to know what you'd like, what you're dying to know about. So, all right. Thank you for being here. Sorry about the mix-up, but I hope you've had fun. I had fun doing it, and I will. Thursday is Stampin' Thursday, so be sure to tune in and see a demonstration on Stampin' Thursday. Thank you for being here. Have a great evening.